Brock here from Roger Gardening. Thought I'd start this time, first video, in showing you how to plant a tree. Starting at the very beginning. First and foremost, I'm going to run you through when is the right time of year to plant them, and that will obviously depend on which type of tree you buy. And then some of the basic rules, including the most important bit, which is how not to kill the tree. Let's start with the when. There's three types of tree you can buy. First type of tree you can buy is a bare root tree. That's what this is right here. Bare root, meaning there is no Santa sack over it, that's the root ball version, and there's no pot on it, that's the potted version. They're the three types you can buy. You can only normally buy bare root in the winter when they pull them out of the ground. You can only usually buy a root ball in the winter as well when they pull them out of the ground. Pot plant you can get any time of year, and you can plant it any time of year. They're the three types. The when, I don't care what anyone says, yes, you can plant your potted plant any time of year. Make your life easy, plant them in late autumn, early winter. Best time. Why? The soil's warm, which is what helps the roots get established in the first place. And secondly, it's usually wet in the northern hemisphere. I understand southern hemisphere can be slightly different, but it's wet, which is exactly what these roots need in order to push out. So you're looking for late autumn, early winter, and get them in the ground. Then, now you know when to plant this tree. The next question is where you plant this tree. And it's a bit like they say when you're buying a house. Location, location, location. It will all depend on what type of tree you're planting. There are 4 S's as far as I'm concerned about where you plant them. S number 1 is about sunlight. S number 2 is about whether it's sheltered and how much shelter it needs. S number 3 is the soil. What type is it? Acidic, alkaline, chalk, clay, etc. And the 4th S is saturation. How much water can its roots bear sitting in? I can do a separate video at some point explaining all of that, but this is a beautiful, great white Japanese cherry, Prunus taihaku. This needs well-drained soil, which is exactly what this is. Ideally, full sun. Or it's not perfect here, but there's a reason why I'm planting it here, because some of these trees are going to grow in the future, going to be taken out in the future, and there is quite a big a sun trap here, which it will like. And thirdly, the type of soil. With these particular trees, it does not matter. They'll grow in pretty much anything. Right, now let's get to it and get the tree planted. Most important thing when you plant these trees, and any tree, to stop it, avoid it from being killed, is make sure that the depth you plant it in is not too deep, such that it rots the base of the roots. What do I mean by that? If you have a look here, you'll see where the roots are coming from. You can see where the soil mark is up to here on this tree. You do not want to plant this tree any deeper than that soil mark. It's essential it does not. It's even more essential if they've been grafted like this one, that this is not kept on the ground. You might think this doesn't look particularly nice. Do not worry, this will go as the trunk widens. The most important thing is do not plant any deeper than that. If anything, I plant it slightly higher. The quick trick, get your spade over the hole. That tells you where the soil level is. You do not want this tree, right, to be below that. And remember, you're going to actually press this in as well. So if anything, you want it ever so slightly higher. Now, the planting hole itself. The importance of the planting hole is that the root ball here, or your pot, the hole should be twice the diameter of this root ball or your pot. There's a reason for this, and lots of people get this wrong. Years ago, I used to do a bit of boxing. When you do some boxing, one of the first things they teach you is your stance, and there's a reason for this stance. If anyone tries to hit you and your feet are stuck together like this, and someone tries to push you, you fall over. What do you want? You want a nice wide stance, so if someone does hit you, you don't fall over. Exactly the same with a tree. The ideal scenario is that these roots grow out first and then down. Remember, the growing down's dead easy. All you need is a bit of drought, and they will look for the water table. The water table will fall, and the roots will go down. What they will not do naturally is grow out as quickly, and to get a really strong tree, you want them to go out first. As a result, when people say, oh, do I put some fertilizer in the bottom of the hole, etc., the answer is no. The answer is if you want to put fertilizer in, the fertilizer goes right around the edges. And my advice to you is that is why you make that hole twice the width of the diameter in order to make sure there's a lot of loose soil and a lot of loose matter around the sides of the tree root ball itself, in order to encourage in the first few years those roots to go out rather than down. Now, let's get it in the ground. One of the important things is to make sure there's no air pockets where possible, around the root system itself. So you want to make sure that soil is really closely next to the roots but not compacted. Quick trick to do this: shake the tree as you go. By shaking the base of the tree, you shake the soil in around it. Finally, they say they call it a toe in, because you're just using your toe. It's a balance. Some people say you don't want to press them in because you don't want to compact the soil around the roots. At the same time, you don't want it to fall over in the first wind. So the first thing I do is I just toe it in, so you're just pressing gently around the roots without trying to compact it. Next, I said earlier, I want those roots to go out. So what I've got is I've got some compost. You want that goodness to go around the tree to encourage those roots to go out. You do not want it touching the trunk or covering the edge of that trunk, so that you could rot it or bury again anything above the roots. After that, the single most important thing to do is make sure it's watered in well. However, for me personally, because of the exposure that this tree is going to have, etc., I need to stake it in. Some people will say you stake these in first, and definitely if you have a root ball or if you have a potted plant, it's sometimes easier in order to do that. However, with a bare root tree, some people say you can damage some of the roots. Yes, you can. I ignore them. I've never had a tree die by putting a stake in afterwards. You can get it closer to the trunk, and it usually supports the tree better in heavy winds or strong winds, which we get around here. So I'll go do that now. Rubber tie is the best, where you want something that's got a bit of give and that isn't going to rub against the trunk. And as you're going to find out over the next few videos, one of my biggest problems here is deer. If I leave that trunk exposed, it will get their antlers will be rubbing on it, particularly over winter, particularly if we get some snow. So I wrap it in a couple of deer guards. Obviously if you're in an area without deer, but maybe you've got rabbits, then you need something lower down. But for me it's deer. Finally, and most importantly, any tree that you plant, you need to give it a lot of water when it's first planted. And when I mean a lot, I don't mean like you'd normally water a house plant. I mean give it an entire 5-10 litre, this is 10, can of water when you first plant it. It's also very important in its first year that it gets lots of water, hence why that when's so important to save you doing this. It's also best to try, if you can, to keep this area around the tree weed free, and in the spring I will come out and I'll mulch this before the weeds really get going, in order to try and suppress them for that bit longer and help these roots spread wide before going down. And that's it. That's how you plant a tree. Thanks for watching.